get set up for tomorrow, shall we? So, what I want you to do is to go ahead and to get out your forensics notebook. And in your forensics notebook, okay, I gave you some handouts last week. We also have this, and you're going to need this out. I'm going to be making reference to the Getting to Know You handout that I had you working on a little bit. So you have those. Set those to the side. And I want you to open up to our organized life, the notes and the discussion that we had on Wednesday. Okay. And we're going to be starting where we left off right here. Okay. But before we do that, let me do a little discussion, a little bit of talking about where we're going with this. So these were our objectives on Wednesday. Carry on a rich discussion of what you learned and are curious about with the Mind Games case. List the 3 remaining principles that our class's culture of learning is built on, foundational to our class, and explore at a deeper level the parts of the forensic guidelines, which are the handouts that guidelines that I gave you, along with a letter that I know you read to your parents and looked over the guidelines already with them. But we're going to be exploring them at a deeper level and doing that so that we can see what does that have to do with building our culture of learning and you being a student of forensics. But um, as Christians, I think we should always be thinking about, okay, how do I live out my faith in this calling, this role that God has given me at the moment, which for me as a teacher, father, um, son, brother, um, all of those roles that I have, and what does that look like to do it in a way that is pleasing to God and in a way that reflects the fact that I am a follower of Christ. Set up our investigation notebook. That's what we're going to be doing more as we work through the course guidelines. This could sort of go without saying, will be always a part of our classes. Not setting it up, but adding to it. But we're still sort of in that setup phase with the building and protecting a culture of learning, which is the first parts of this class before diving into the forensics. So with that, we went on and gave you some things to think about as you answered the questions. And with answering the questions, if we go back to our notebook, the idea was that you had set up um, the Mind Games class work. However, you decided to do that. You read through that and you then answered the questions. I was super impressed that some of you were curious enough to just dive in on your own. And part of what the class discussion was at the beginning on Wednesday was talking about how that other journal that I told you to get and to have at your workspace is something that hopefully you constantly keep adding to with additional information, things that you're curious about, things that you're exploring on your own, should always be part of the way we celebrate God's creation and what He's done and given to us, and all the great stuff that's out there is by just exploring and writing down things that are important and exciting to us. So it's like your personal investigation notebook, investigating the world, investigating what are you curious about, what are you excited about, what do you want to know more information about. So that's something that should always be ongoing. And again, I won't talk about it every time, but it's something that I'm wanting you to do, even if you're done early with your forensics work or you don't have any other homework to do. really take some time to do that. I think that will go a long way in helping to channel you into how God has built you, what you're curious about, what you're interested in, and will then be something you enjoy doing at the moment, but then can also be something that just opens up doors or leads you in different paths or different directions of when it comes time to thinking, what do I want to do? What do I want to explore further? Um, we need to take more time to do that, I think, rather than watching what everyone else is doing. If you do that, like I did growing up, what winds up happening is then at a certain point you ask yourself, well, what do I like? What do I want to do as I'm watching everybody going off in the directions and paths that God has for them. So it's a small little way of getting ready for that, taking the baby steps towards that. Another thing we talked about is I went through and gave you points for completing this, not only putting it in your investigation notebook, but answering the question. And we had a little fun. There was a little teasing going on about what does doing the job well. We talked about how we can communicate um, well, and we communicate also not just through words, but through our actions and our lives. And everything that we do communicates what we're about and what we think is important. And so when it comes time in class, I want you guys, since we're all about what is true, what is beautiful, what is good, to exercise the writing skills that you've been taught are um, true, beautiful, and good in all the work you do. It's not just something that you do in your literacy classes and then just wind up just kind of doing communicating however you want. The expectation is there is that you're continuing to practice those skills. So the expectation is whenever we do anything, now these are just short answers, you're not writing a paper, but in short answers, that could be correct grammar, um, correct English usage, answering the questions completely, um, also using any evidence. It could be from the reading, or for those of you that went in further and found out more information, which is great, incorporating that in to give an explanation of your reasoning, why you answered the question the way you did. And if you need more room, and you know that you're going to need more room in the future, you don't have to put each question one right after another. You can cut out each individual question, or some of you just didn't even wind up putting this page. You just wrote the question out and then answer the question, then put in the next question. However you want to do it, as long as that I see that you've got what I told you to put in here and you've completed the work and have completed it well, because that then will ultimately add to the discussion and make the class time really rich. And that's why at the beginning of class, as a warm up, I had you guys think about these things, and we had a discussion about it. And yeah, it was neat. I learned some things from the discussion about things you had found out about the case. Also, with this case, after the setup, uh, there is a forensic files I told you about called Bitter Poison. I don't know how you can stream that, but um, that was something back in the day that I watched that gave me some more background information into this. Then we went on to continue on. We've talked about organization and communication, and in my recap of the week, which will be another little video, we'll go more and specifically into that. But the reason that we're also, I handed out to you the different papers that I did and why we're continuing to set up the notebook with the expectations and going deeper is to make sure that we cover these three things so that we're just good to go. And with that, now let's do the setup in our notebook. So we had that organizational page that we worked on, and then I had you guys set up the mind games case, and we did that. Um, And so this is, and if you need to pause the video to see how to do this in your workspace, use the supplies that you have. What you can see is that I cut out the first little part of the, which is the little fun questionnaire and the supplies list and pro tip for supplies. I want you to leave about this much space and we'll fill that in. Then we've got the grading. Then what you did is we're putting, just cut out the classroom rules and conduct, this first little part of it. And what I want you to do is to put in this little graphic that I had given to you. And then underneath there, you're writing educational program as a heading, and then we're leaving the rest of this page blank. Okay. And then what we're going to be doing with the educational program, okay, I'm going to put the next page is going to be forensic syllabus. And I'm going to go through at some point this next week and hit the major topics that we're going to be covering throughout this year. Then we continued on to see here. This includes, this was still under the classroom rules and conduct page. You put this portion of it here. And then the behavior of pursuing. Go ahead and make that title right there. Okay. So at that point now is where we're going to take this other handout I gave you. Now I've already cut it into pieces because I wanted to be able to tuck it into my folder here. And so trim those pieces up. You've got there's 8 different behaviors that go 1 through 8 right here. Okay. And the way I want you guys to put this in is we're not going to put them in this order, but the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and trim out each one of those. So I'll give you an example. The first one we're going to put in is going to be attitude. So the first thing you can do is just separate them all. Separate. You ever sing to yourself or talk to yourself while you're working? Totally normal. Mm-hmm. I can hear Micah chiming right along with me. Mm-hmm. Feel free to, mm-hmm. It's good. It's like a cat purring. That's our LCA forensics purr. Mm-hmm. We're happy. Just doing it. Okay. So we've got all of those cut up. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take the one that says attitude. Okay, cut off the number. Because if you're like me and bad in math and the numbers don't go in order, then that might be confusing, might rock your boat. So we put that like that. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so good. Just like that. Attitude, dedication. Okay. And what you're going to do is we're going to leave a little bit of space in between the behavior of pursuit, and you're just going to take your glue stick. Another thing that I shared with you, we have a big piece of cardstock that we use in class, but at your desk, it's always a nice idea to just have a piece of paper again to manage the glue. Don't get it all over the place, and you can get that glue. Now, I got a purple one. I think the ones in however you have it. The purple is just kind of nice because you can see that it goes right to the edge. Remember, we want this book something that your grandkids are going to go up in the attic and find someday. We don't want just thrown together and then all the pages and pieces are falling out later. So do that, and then we just simply and then take this, put this here. Attitude is next. Oh, I'd leave a little bit more space than that. I forgot about that. Okay. Now, underneath each of these, you want to leave about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 different 5 boxes because we're going to write something underneath here. And what ones you put next will be based on how much space you have. Like I wouldn't want to put this one, right? Because then I don't have any space underneath or above. So let's see which one can work well. The next skinniest one, I think, is attendance, or is it? Yes, attendance. So I'm going to cut off the 2. Part of the reason why I told you guys to have your own workspace as I'm doing this, I think there's something satisfying about when you know you've got to work, to have tools and a workspace all set to go. It helps draw you into the work. And then I know some people think it's silly maybe to do the setup stuff, but I think it, for me at least, it helps prepare me for the work. It helps settle me. One of the things that I find that Bear does that's so funny is that before he lies down in his bed, he makes a circle in his bed and he'll paw at it. And it's almost like he's preparing his nest. And then eventually he just like falls down right in it for a good rest. And I have found that with as distracted as we get and as busy as we are, and especially me with my mind going so many different places, I need something that'll help me just take a deep breath and get ready for the learning that we have going on. So with that, I would put this like right about there. It gives some space here and here. So I'm going to leave you, I'm going to stop it and go ahead, so we're not just taking up all this video time, to go ahead and put all of those activities the same way. Trim off the number, okay, put it in, leave enough space underneath here. Again, if you're somebody that writes big, you might want to leave a little bit more space, but you want about that much space that we can make some notes underneath each one of those for all of those. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause it, and then we'll get back to this. Okay, we're back. So we've got that right there. Now, I write bigger and want to communicate more, so I just left space, but maybe you were able to squeeze 3 on a page, however you want to do that. And there we go. So if you have done that so far, the only other thing to do to get the participation points, which is homework for this week. I'll be checking to just make sure that you've got all of this put in your notebook so we're ready to go at the beginning of class, is to then take the right here, the attendance. Okay. Now with the attendance, what I want you to do is to just cut off this little bit right here and paste it wherever you left off. Now, again, we don't want to waste a lot of space here, but maybe you finished off here. You leave a little bit of space and you want to put it right here. But we will need some space afterward where you're going to be writing your plan. So on this one, I will just cut this off, which show you. And so for me, it's going to go up here like this. I'm going to leave a little bit of space. And then the rest of this, you just sort of trim it up, can go in right after there. So if I cut this off in here, I think that'll go nicely. But let's say you've run out of a page like right here, you can separate these in any way you want to make it fit into your notebook. Just make sure that they're in the order that I've given you. And so be back in a minute. Okay, so now I'm just going to put in this last piece, well glued up. Make sure it gets pressed down. I don't, so what I do is just use the sides of my hands, get any air bubbles out. Man, that's harmonious right there. There's no disharmony right there. That's beautiful. Okay. Nice thing is, and as simple as it is, and I think that's why it's so great to start training students early on, because you get used to doing things in a quality way and to being pleased with the look of it, and then that just naturally carries on. It doesn't become this big laborious thing later on when you're an adult. So be thankful. So thankful for LCA and that emphasis that everything we do is doing because we are committed to things that are true, beautiful, and good in all ways that we live and all ways that we're doing things out in the world. So that's what we have right there. Um, all right. So as a recap, what is your homework that I'm going to be giving you points for Monday? At the beginning of the class, we'll have the um, learning targets or objectives up, and give you a little bit of a warm up. And then I'm just going to come around quickly and see. Now, some of you, if you didn't finish this, I said there was going to be a little bit of a grace period for the first 2 weeks, so I won't take any points off for late work. But if I told you to go back and do it, or you told me I didn't bring my book to class, or the answers weren't acceptable, go ahead and make sure that you finish that up. If you were, yes, finish that up, then put in all of this stuff here, the way we just talked about, leaving spaces where necessary. Got this, and you've got this. Okay. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Good job. Now I'm going to put another video in. It's going to be called a week 2 discussion. And that week 2 discussion is going to go back. I really started geeking out on thinking about the thoughts and how they direct our ultimately direct our actions. I was not happy with how I presented it. There was more to say, and so anyway, all of that to say that look, I'll also be posting a video talking about what will I call it? We'll call it week 2 reflections on the organized life. And make sure that you watch that. There won't be anything to do, but it's something, an important message, and will tie back into the stuff that we then do here later on Monday. Okay? All right, squad out.